All right, I've got 5 o'clock. Let's call a meeting to order. If we would stand for a moment of silence. You join me in the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Let's call our roll. Mr. Williams is out tonight. I am present. Mr. Heater.
Present.
Mrs. Watasha Barnes Griffin.
Present.
All three of you.
Mr. Irvin is absent tonight. Mr. Lowe.
Present.
Mrs. Washburn.
Present.
All right, wonderful. Dr. Reynolds is up.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. I'll try to keep it brief today because I won't save my minutes from this week for next week. I know, or next month. I know that our July will be full of updates and exciting things to talk about, but just a few updates for everybody. Work is continuing on the central campus. The concrete work around the field house is being poured and is looking great. Getting close to laying some blacktop, I believe. We've got a little behind schedule with some wastewater lines and different things, but that's close to getting back on track and just really starting to take nice shape there. On your placemats too, I provided you with the band schedule. That is all the performances for the summer marching band. Those kids have kicked it off 2 weeks ago. I think this is their second week at it. In the hot sun, spent majority of the time yesterday, I think, inside. It was pretty steamy, so they went inside for some rehearsal inside, but that kind of gives you the performances and the locations for the summer. That kicks off next month. I think I shared last week, too, that iRead 3 results are starting to come in. We have some unofficial counts, but very promising numbers. We'll share those as soon as possible. Just got to say how proud I am of the work that the teachers and the students, the administrators are doing out in our elementary schools and all of our schools, but in this case, our elementary schools, and the work that they've done with the iRead 3 and anxious to be able to share those results with everybody and publicly. Just a quick update on our Montessori program that's going to be based at Camp Adventure. So just a quick update that we're offering a pre-K kindergarten class at Camp Adventure that will officially be housed at Grissom on inclement weather days or as a home base. That they will be there as their home school, but they will spend nearly every day out at Camp Adventure for a nature-based learning experience through the Montessori philosophy. Right now, the program is at capacity. We have 10 pre-K kids and 10 kindergarten kids. So very excited about that new niche program coming to the Muncie Community Schools. It's been in the works for a long time and excited to finally get that launched. If you see any Bearcat MCS branded debit cards when you're out and about, we're starting a partnership with Thrive Credit Union where you can get a MCS Bearcat branded debit card attached to your account, which are students who are with the Muncie Parks program, part of that learning program. They get a banking account at Thrive. So every swipe of that Thrive card, it gets I think it's 8 cents a swipe that goes back to the school district. So you get enough folks doing that and get some good shoppers. Maybe we can bring a little extra dollars into the corporation to help support our kids. And then finally, we were awarded about a $50,000 digital intervention grant, which kind of ties nicely into what Mrs. Polk-Meek will talk about in her adoption. But that will be focused on our middle schools and helping our kids that are struggling with reading at our middle school. So we're excited about that opportunity and that grant we were awarded. I think that's it. Dr. O'Neill?
Okay, any questions for Dr. Reynolds? Good. All right, moving on. Do we have any public comments at all? Okay. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. It's my understanding that we have some new teachers, new hires here tonight. Anybody here that wants to come on and step up and talk to us a little bit? Just introduce yourselves.
Do they want to or will they?
will they?
Be willing to.
Be willing to. How about that?
Yeah, come on.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
Sydney?
Okay, hi. I'm Sydney. I have the privilege of teaching fourth grade at East Washington Academy. And I went to Muncie School of Whole Education, and I'm excited to be able to give back to my community what it gave me.
Graduate of Central, and your university is?
Taylor.
Taylor University. Graduated from Taylor
All
University.
right, great.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
My name is Eric Kurtz. I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of Muncie Community Schools. Over the past year and a half, I've had the privilege of being the building sub over at East Washington Academy, and my time there has been great, and I'm excited to get started as a physical education teacher this upcoming year and continue to build those relationships with my students and continue to pour back into this community.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Eric.
Welcome.
Eric got to spend a lot of time at East Washington and working with our kids, so he knows the kids. Spent a lot of time with Mr. Howe, who who retired. So there'll be terrific transition right to Eric. And Eric still has Mr. Howe's cell phone number, so if he needs any support, he'll be getting a hold of Ronnie. That's right.
Great mentor of mine. Yeah.
All right.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Curtain. I am thrilled to be returning to Muncie Schools as the middle school math instructional coach. Awesome.
Wonderful. So where have you spent time away?
This past year, I was at Yorktown.
I won't say anything bad.
I know Jim
Glad you're
would.
back.
Jim would say something. But
I'm not gonna say anything bad at all.
Thank you. I'm
Well,
excited to
welcome.
be
Thank
here.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad you're back.
Mr. Anderson.
Hello, I'm Cedric Anderson. And also, before I say my history, I also want to introduce my wife, Kiana Anderson, my youngest son, Cameron Anderson, and my oldest son, Cedric Jr. They all came with us today
great.
just to meet you guys and things of that nature. But I have the privilege of working at Northside this coming year as the alternative teacher for the last, I think, almost 10 years. I've been working in school suspension, and I was at the priority school at YOC when it was still going on. And then I have about 10 years of in-school suspension from Kokomo as well. And then also I'm a pastor in the city. So I'm most definitely glad and that I'm able to service our kids here and then learn from my mentors here.
Awesome.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. All right.
I know it's kind of out of turn, but I would like to thank Dr. Bell and our principals for working so hard in the spring to get our positions filled. We're in really good shape, and it's through the hard work of our principals and Dr. Bell's leadership to help get that taken care of. So thank you, Dr. Bell. I appreciate that.
Wonderful. That's great. All right, we have the consent agenda before us. Any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Curriculum.
All right. I'm going to turn this over to Mrs. Polk Meek to lead this conversation with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to talk too long. Dr. Reynolds promised to give me like that eye when I start. I get really excited when I start talking about specifically reading and reading intervention. So this is just a simple request to approve the adoption of curriculum known as MegaWords. As you all are very aware, they've done a fantastic job of implementing the science of reading, that 50 years of research, that body of research that supports how kids learn how to read in the elementary schools. And so we want to capitalize on that, and through this particular curriculum, it will allow us to continue to address some fundamental reading challenges that some of our students are still coming to us with. And will also, along with the digital grant that Dr. Reynolds mentioned, allow us to work with Marian University, who has been providing that critical literacy support in the elementary. So we're kind of creating, despite the state's kind of stopped in that particular space, we're kind of creating a version of the literacy cadre for our own students at the middle level. So it is the curriculum, definitely, but it's also the additional training that our staff will receive as a result of the curriculum over the next year.
Awesome. Thanks,
Yeah,
Carrie.
absolutely. Thank
Have any
you.
questions?
I apologize, I didn't download it. What's the cost for the program? I forgot to download it.
9,700.
How much?
9,700.
I think it's,
97.
yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Can't get
reasonable.
any.
It's not super flashy, but it's really supportive.
Were
It's
there-
systematic and explicit.
And did you choose that because of its connectivity to science and reading, or are there 15 of those out there to choose from?
So I pulled this specifically after having worked in the literacy space at the Department of Ed for 3 years. It was really obvious to us as we were starting to build out that intervention space in adolescence that there weren't a lot of good curricular programs, right? So it was chosen very deliberately based on trying to find a systematic and explicit way to think about word recognition for our kiddos. So the first unit in this particular curriculum deals specifically with syllabication. And how kids break down multisyllabic words, prefixes and suffixes. So it is absolutely aligned to the science of reading.
Awesome.
And even though we weren't officially working with Marian University last year, I was able to reach out to them and had a lot of really great conversations with them. And another professional who's very well known in the state, Dr. Jamie Peevler, who highly recommended this particular program. Awesome. And again, it's as much about the training of the staff as it is about the curriculum itself. So it's a kind of a 6-step, very explicit way of helping kids to break down words and to train them to stop. You know, for a lot of years, kids were trained to just skip the words that they didn't understand. And then to go back and try to find context. This is really a way to get kids to be able to think about how they're going to stop when they come to a word that they don't understand, how they sound it out, and then how they use prefixes and suffixes and other things that they've learned in order to encode, decode those words.
Awesome.
So very, very deliberate in its approach.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'd move approval.
So Carrie did a really nice job. So our Amplified Science of Reading curriculum is for everybody that we adopted last school year. This will be that second tier of intervention for our kids that are struggling a little bit. And then that digital intervention grant will be that third tier intervention, very, very explicit and directed to a small group of kids.
And what we did see and what we did notice was, again, how wonderful the elementaries were doing and how they were seeing that growth, right, with their kiddos. That didn't necessarily mean that they were sending kiddos to us that were at grade level. And so we don't want to lose that growth and we don't want to lose that capacity. And so it was just so critical that we had a curriculum that supported that, as well as the training for our secondary teachers who aren't necessarily always trained to teach kids how to read, right, in that secondary space.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a
Thank you,
motion.
Carrie.
Need a second? Moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Mr. Jerome.
Thank you. In your board packet was our financial update for the month of May. Just a few highlights to bring to the attention of the board and the public that has occurred since we last met. Still expecting to receive a little over $47.8 million in revenue. One item to note with that, we will receive the new estimate for our state basic grant later this week. So right now, the reason that looks about $800,000 higher than a year ago, that now, of course, includes the textbook rental of about $700,000 plus, $750,000 plus. That is not a separate grant like it was in the past. Now it's rolled into the state funding formula. So that almost looks like an artificial increase of $800,000. Really, it's not. That had been funded separately in a separate grant. It's now part of the funding formula. So we'll get probably updated information for you a month from now in July when we have our next meeting. Still having an overall fund cash balance of a little over, just under 35 million at the end of May. Our state loan is just a little bit now down to $7 million as we continue to pay that off at $180,000 a month. A couple things that have occurred since we last met. We did receive this last week of local property taxes of $4.6 million. Always like to report that, and we will be paying out $4.3 million of that to pay our long-term debts later this week as well, to satisfy our outstanding bond debt and outstanding bonds and debts that are due. And we do that in June and December, so we're on target with that. Also, too, our $19.8 million construction project will still continue to move forward. We had received word that that had passed all the necessary legal hurdles and all the periods of the 30-day waiting period. So we'll be bringing more information to you as we meet again in July with what the attorneys say we have to do next. And if you remember, that's the next phase of some of our projects that we're trying to do to improve the boiler and air conditioning system at the field house, which there is no air conditioning at the field house. Right now we need to replace a boiler who doesn't have one. We will still have to rent a boiler again for this next winter, but at least we can continue on with that project. Expected timeline, we would be probably selling bonds in the fourth quarter of 2025. That's why we'd still have to rent a boiler for next winter. That would include some roofing projects, if you remember, a chiller perhaps at Northside Middle School, some bleachers, a lot of exterior doors at Muncie Central, and just some real improvement items that were necessary. So anyway, that's a brief update on that. We thought that was a positive thing to report to the board. Very happy to report that we'll be able to continue that project. In the month of July, we'll have more items for that as we continue to name officially our architect and open the process for a construction manager for that project. So anyway, additional cash items, I mentioned the $35 million cash balance. There's the charts and graphs behind you where we're trending. Like I mentioned, the property taxes came in this last week, and they will go away for the to pay our debts. But that's how that works. It's still trending where we expect to still be almost $35 million in the overall cash balance by the end of this year, and expecting to be over $15 million in the expected cash balance for the education fund at the end of this calendar year. So we're on target with where we expect to be. And appropriation-wise, we're still monitoring that, of course. We use operation fund and rainy day fund to spend the remaining about $7.6 million of appropriations we expect to spend between operation and rainy day, because those funds are very tight. We will have money left in rainy day. We're continuing to do that, to use rainy day to help us offset operational needs. And we know that's not a long-term solution. We do know that. Right now, that's just how we have had set that up. So that is really our update for the month of May information. So you'll have a lot more. We're gearing up for the fiscal year-end closing coming up here at the end of June, and then that begets all that financial information gets switched from cash basis of accounting to accrual accounting for our GAAP financial statement conversion. Baker Tilly helps us with that, and we do that because of Ball State and their financial statement audit, and we start getting more busy in July. So anyway, just that completes my report.
Quick question. I think I know the answer to this. Nothing changed the way it's categorized. Education fund, debt service, operation fund, all the same. It's just the mechanism within those that change with Senate Bill 1, right? Kind of.
Yeah, all the current funds stay the same.
Stay the same.
Nothing changed there on how we do the buckets of costs. What has changed with Senate Bill 1 is just how the expectation is that assessed valuation for the county and for the part that affects us as a school will continue to go down, perhaps 25% or 30%. So if AV goes down, which helps the taxpayer, could limit how much incoming property tax revenue we might get. So stay tuned for that, as we'll have our first board meeting in August, we'll have the budget presentation, and we'll continue to gather as much data as we can as the state DLGF continues to release guidance on that.
I have a quick question. Do we know if anybody that is in the realm of authority or decision-making power has their eye on this, on the ball as it relates to the operation fund and how that's all working? Is there anybody out there that is paying attention to this, that has any hope for any change?
Well, that's a good question. In other words, is anyone looking out for districts like us? We're one of those, we're in that top 10 district of districts who lose over 50% of property taxes because of the tax caps. And really we've been dealing with that for a number of years. So what we're hearing from our fellow districts around us is now, because of the threat of SB1 and how that's affecting them, or how that could affect them, we know some of our fellow districts are concerned. For us, we've been living with the property tax reduction for a number of years. So getting back to your question, are they looking at that? Well, I think the big thing from this past legislative session was just to try to reduce the property tax liability for the taxpayers, and we were supposed to just deal with it. That was kind of the philosophy we were given. So it's a work in project, I would say. We will just see. We've done a number of things to try to limit our spending in operation fund, and obviously July 1, we're bringing over the SSC folks. That contract, of course, was terminated to help us save money in the operation fund, and we're continuing to put as many things as we can in other funds and pay them out of grants when we can. But it's a constant challenge. I don't know. The legislature is supposed to be looking out for us at times, but I think right now it's just property tax reform.
More to your question, is there anybody in the state, maybe you know, Chuck or Leanne, that's aggregating all this information together from all the other school corporations to show how this is impacting schools? And that report is available. It'd be great to see a report like that.
So I think they're just now, the financial advisors that a lot of the districts use, that all the districts use, are still unpacking that to see the impact.
Okay.
Because your districts are so unique in their property tax base and what is within their boundaries. Because the rural schools didn't have a whole lot of impact before, but now they do because of the relief given to farmland.
Right.
And businesses. They were, if they had a lot of businesses, you were bringing in lots of revenue. A lot of the tax caps are hitting businesses in their personal property, personal property relief for equipment, I think, in excess of $1 million or something like that. So it's, I guess to Brad's point, it's really impacting a lot of folks that had not impacted in the past. So, but all of the large organizations, the Indiana School Board Association, the Indiana Association of School Superintendents, Principals Association, Teacher Association, they're all lobbying very hard to see the impact. Now, I think the problem is no one quite knows where that impact is going to land yet. So if you recall, Dr. K and I kind of went on a road show last year and visited with superintendents across the state, and then key legislators to kind of explain where we were sitting. So, and a lot of that information was provided by our financial consultants who have access to that information. So I think that there will be people continue to lobby and try to communicate the impact. But the problem right now is we don't quite know the full implication of that legislation yet.
And we know the financial consultants, they're all basically saying the same thing as you have mentioned before too, Dr. Reynolds, that we're doing some of the same things the financial consultants are saying we should do. We've sold bonds to help us offset in the operation fund once we finish this process in 2025, that'll be 4 years in a row we have done that with very short paybacks of only 1 or 2 years. That's helping us offset some spending in the operation fund. So we're doing everything that's available to us right now.
Yep.
And I know when we sell these bonds in 2025, some of our bond debt will then be, we will not be able to sell bonds again for like another, we have to wait 2 years. So that is, some of these new procedures or laws that were put in place at the legislature, we now have to comply with that as well, so.
What's the 2 years based on?
Oh, it's just kind of like a moratorium.
Yep.
On, it's kind of a moratorium, I don't know if that's the right word, but they put like a 2-year wait in between issuing new bonds. That's to simplify it, I think, to explain it in that
That's
manner.
Right. That was new legislation that just passed as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Updates.
Yeah, so as we continue to unpack the legislation that, of course, impacts some of our policies that we have, we work very closely with Church, Hiddle, and Antrim to update our policies, to make sure we're compliant with the new Indiana codes and laws that go into effect July 1. So before you today, you'll see a list and a bullet summary of some of those. I won't read them all to you. I know that you've taken time to review that. Some of them are just language, like the first one, it just updates the language from the last legislative session on non-discrimination and anti-harassment. So it just updates some of that language. School attendance. This one really defines, gives more legs and definitions to school attendance, which I think is a good thing. Provides definition of an absence, definition of excused absences and what that can be. The parent access, that new C-225, some of those apply to us. Some of them do not because of House Bill 1315. I guess the most significant portion of that we'll have to comply with is a parent consent permission slip from the state that you have to use. We always did parent permission slips when we had human sexuality conversations with fourth graders, middle school health, and high school health class. We'd always send permission slips home for parent consent to participate in that portion of the content. This year, you have to use the provided permission slip, provided informational slip from the latest legislation. Kind of highlights from any of the rest of them. One is repealed D-255, the teacher appreciation grant. If you recall, Dr. Bell would always bring that and have special approval on the breakdown of percentages and how much and when it would be distributed. That's all been repealed. They're revamping that entire grant. We believe we have so there's no policy that you have to adopt. DOE is going to give us all the information that we need to roll that out. New religious release time, that information is now listed. F-125 is some purchasing and capital asset procedures that Brad will deal with. Most of those deal with dollar amounts, look like some recycling and different things. Property procurement, yes.
Minimum capitalization is $10,000, and that's what it was before. We're just updating it in the policy.
Yeah. And then just some language about audio and video recordings on school property, school meetings and executive sessions, data breaches. Those were really pretty standard, just updated informational pieces based on that legislation.
Who goes through and decides what's capitalized asset? Is that all you? You, okay. Doing a wonderful job, by the way. It took 5 of us to do it, so, and you won, okay, great.
No, I just
Yeah.
do it, so.
Okay,
So I'm asking for permission tonight to approve these policies, adopt these policies, and then waive that second, waive the second reading straight to approval.
Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
All right.
Do we have any dialogue on the board, anything anybody has? I've caused as much trouble as I want to cause tonight. You know, I got the heebie-jeebies when Brad said something about a boiler. I was like,
Twitching.
any media? No media here tonight, I don't think. All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, and all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Welcome,
All
new
right.
teachers. We're
Welcome,
glad
guys.
you're here.
Welcome.
Let us know if you need anything.
Great, great.
Cindy, I got in too.